We have a very special program for you today brought to you by the town of East Fishkill, where we are going to interview our first responders. Councilman?
Good morning, everybody. As my fellow Councilman Tom Franco, I'm Emmanuel Marinaro, Manny, and today we are meeting with our Chief of Police, Chris Bellino, our Fire Chief, Frank Calamita, and also the gentleman that takes care of the EMS, Steve?
Gary Salzberg.
Gary Salzberg. Thank you for attending, and we will be discussing a few things that are of interest to our community today.
Great, and first, let's get to know our first responders. Let's start with the Chief of Police. Chief, thanks for being here today. Tell us how you first got started in East Fishkill, and your career for that matter.
Well, thank you for the invite, appreciate it. I'm sure these two are going to have some really great stories, but...
I'm sure you can have some good ones too.
I don't think so.
Okay, so the whole time I've been with Gary and Frank, and that's what's been perfect. So we don't work together anymore. It's always been like friends. So whenever there's an incident and Gary's there and Frank is there and their crew and my crew, it's not like work anymore.
Right.
So that's always been the best part working here. I don't know what made me become a police officer. It's just helping people. That's what we do all day long, and we just do it all a little differently.
That's great. Frank, what about you? How long have you been with the fire department?
I've been with the East Fishkill Fire Department for about 28 years. Rose through ranks and everything. I've been a chief for about a year. So I'm still learning a couple things here and there, and going day by day. And you know what? If it wasn't people like Gary, which is the chief of EMS, he actually helps me out the most on quite a few things, especially things when it comes to paperwork. But then also, I just want to say the members themselves, because I almost could ask any member to give me a hand with certain things, whether it's something, a report I got to do, or even just teaching other guys doing something.
Now, you're a trainer as well, correct?
Yes.
And over in different towns?
Yes, in different places.
How long have you been with fire in general?
32 years.
Wow.
I've been...
That's terrific.
So...
And our fire department is completely voluntary, correct?
Yes, completely volunteer.
Well, thank you for saving our taxpayers a lot of money, right, Councilman? We enjoy when our taxpayers are saved a lot of money, so we're very grateful for that.
God
Thank
bless
you.
these guys.
Yes. Gary, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I came to East Fishkill. I purchased a business Shell station at 52 in Blue Hill many years ago. I sold that in 2008, and while I was there, quite a few people came in and strongly encouraged me to join the fire district, which I did do. I've been a member for about 26 years, been an EMT for a good part of that. And it's a fantastic community. I loved it when I had my business here. I love living here, and I love the people in the community, and just like helping people.
Well, thank you. We appreciate all you've done. Now, I'm sure during the pandemic, you must have been like crazy busy. Could you maybe go over a few things, what it was like?
Well, obviously, the biggest issue was finding the proper PPE for the members. We didn't want anybody going out with the proper protection. We all worked together. We helped the PD where we could, and just a lot of work and a lot of effort getting the proper PPE so the members would be protected and be able to go home to their families. And you know, everybody here volunteers, and when they're volunteering, they're taken away from their own family, and that's right. With the people in the town, you know, don't always realize that we're volunteer, and it's great because everybody enjoys doing it, and that's why we do it, because we just love helping people. Mm-hmm.
So, Chief Chris Bellino, I know that in the last few years we have seen some retirement of all the officers that have been with the department, and you have brought in some younger group of people. Where do you see your department going, and how do you feel about the workforce that you have with you at this time?
So the nice thing is, over the last 16 months since I took over, I've gotten quite a bit of pats on the back, and that's due to the staff that I have. I have a fantastic staff. My administrators are second to none. My sergeants are irreplaceable. My officers, they go from call to call to call to call, and they never complain, and they're just fantastic. I have great staff. So as far as seeing us going, we're going to continue to work with these two on a regular basis, and I'm sure the time will come where the department will continue to grow in size. So currently, we're about 36 total, with between civilian staff and sworn officers. But we are growing because we are getting busier.
You know, there is a story that I got to mention. A few years back, I was driving around. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was driving by Opal OS1, and I pulled in the parking lot, and I ended up starting a conversation with our chief now, Franco Kilometer, and we had an exchange, and Frank said few things that were of interest to the department, and that was something that sparkled in the back of my head. After that, my mission was to make sure that we do have volunteers. So Frank, can you please tell us in a few words, what is the importance of rejuvenating the department, bringing more young people, or any person? I mean, I joined myself, I have a certain age. There are certain things that I'm limited what I could do, but I always tell people, you know, join. It's a great organization.
Well, listen, lots of times, it's actually the amount of time that you could actually put out. Because, let's face it, there's a lot of work to actually be involved, whether you go with the fire side or you go to EMS, all right? The fire department side, you're basically looking at, just to take the class itself, you know, to go through firefighter 1, you're looking at 110, 120 hours. That's just to get to get to that firefighter 1 side. And you know what? Then you're also talking about, you know, using your Monday nights to come down to do training. Because let's face it, we have a training center, so guys have to actually be able to do that. I mean, I don't want to tell everybody, yeah, come on down, and you know, I don't want anybody to also think that, hey, it's just a social gathering. Yes, do we do social stuff? Yeah, very few here and there. But most of it, guys come down because they want to do it. They have heart in it. It's all about heart, our job, all right? And you could ask, you know, the chief that's right across from me, you know what, it's about heart. You know what, the EMTs, they're doing way more hours than that, and then they have to do continuing education. I don't really want to, but there's a lot of work to be involved. And then training. And then you also have to get your physicals, and you have to keep up with that. And, you know, you have to work smart too, because let's face it, hot days like today, I tell everybody, make sure you drink a lot of water, because if we do catch fire, which I know we're not catching a ton of fires, but we go to more fires than most other towns do.
So East Fishkill is quite extended town. We have how many fire districts right now, Chief?
We have 4 fire companies, total of 6 fire stations, and that's not including fire headquarters, which the ambulance runs out of, and we do most of our training at there. All right? We got approximately 230 members, all right, that are approximately 200 of them are definitely active. We do have an administration staff too as well as the fire commissioners. Administration staff, just like Chief Bellino's staff, I mean, they're excellent. Another bunch of people that help me out with a lot of things. I could call them up and go, hey, listen, I need a hand doing this, and they almost drop anything to actually get that stuff done for me, which is great.
Very good. So Steve, we do have a company, EMS company, that also services the town.
Correct.
of East
They
Fishkill.
support us for advanced life support. We're a basic life support service, the volunteer part of it. I just want to add to what the chief said there. I want people to understand in the town that the classes that we all take, fire and EMS, are the same as any paid service. So the training that we receive is exactly the same that they would get in the paid department. We're taking the same classes and have the same training and the same ability. So it's not that we're volunteer and we're just coming down to do whatever. You know, we're here to benefit the community.
And many times I see 2 ambulances going to the same call. How does that, for the people in our community, how does that work when they
Okay.
call the 911?
So one of the ambulances you'll see is our East Fishkill ambulance, the volunteer department. The other one is the commercial service for the advanced life support. And generally speaking, if they're both available, they're both going to go to that call. Once it's determined at what level that patient requires, the other unit's going to go back in service. And that's just really, we're trying to keep everybody, units in service as much as we can, and we're trying to give the best that we can for that patient and keep our other resources available. So if we send an ALS ambulance to a call without the BLS ambulance, and that call really doesn't require that advanced life support, and now they're transporting that patient, and another call comes out that requires advanced life support, they might not be readily available. And, as a whole, the whole community, the whole county or the state is really a shortage of EMS. Just as a whole, just due to the education that's required, and, it's a non-essential service, so that for the paid end of it, it's not a career-based service.
And the fascinating thing, I just want to reinforce for the community that our volunteer fire and EMS departments, the regulations that they have to follow in order to qualify, it's just like being a regular EMS or fireman, their service in New York City. So, and the outstanding thing is that these people are doing it for nothing. And, how important is that for our community? When they go to a call, they don't know if it's a friend or relative or whatever, but they respond. And, the bottom line for us that we deal with numbers is it's an incredible amount of taxes that these guys see for our community. And it's something that I want to stress over and over again. They run, you guys have your own budgets, I understand, right? You buy equipment when needed, but you also have to, you want to say a few things out that works, so the community is aware of what's going on.
We have to stay within our budget, and, we replace equipment as needed, and we want to keep people trained. We need equipment to train, and we need resources to be able to train. And we're in a growing community, and with a growing community, your call volume increases. And our call volume increases on a daily basis. And, EMS and fire, one day we could sit here and do absolutely nothing, whether you're commercial, paid commercial service or a volunteer service, and the next day you could do 20 calls in an hour. And it's just the way it is.
Yesterday morning, they went to 5 fire calls yesterday morning. And then there'll be a day, go 2 days with only maybe 1 or 2. So it all comes, no one, if we all knew when the fire was gonna happen, we wouldn't really need too much service, just like anything else. We wouldn't need too much.
Wow.
And one thing, that I want to add, we don't know what we're going to.
Right.
That automatic fire alarm could be a working fire, and that has happened many times in this community where we've gone to an automatic fire alarm and you're going, oh, yep, another automatic fire alarm. And, we once, many years ago, we had an automatic fire alarm, and it was actually a snake in the wintertime that was kept someplace, got out of its cage because the heat failed in the home, and it wrapped itself around a heat lamp, and the heat lamp burned through the floor and started a fire. Fortunately,
Wow.
It didn't go anywhere, but these are,
Right.
as we know, we've had some major fires in this town. And,
Yes.
Major EMS calls, and we cover the, 84, we cover the Taconic State Parkway, so, there's a lot of stuff going on in the community.
One thing I want to touch on, I heard all three of you mention training. Now, Chief, I want to start with you. I know, and maybe you can explain to the public, the amount of training that all of the East Fishkill Police Department does on a continuous basis. If you can just touch a little bit on that.
So we train every single month. There is not a month goes by where we don't do some sort of training. Currently, the training we're involved in is what's called implicit bias training. It's pretty much connected to the reform policing concept, but it is a practice that we've instilled for years. So it's not new to us, but we now make it a mandatory training. So, and it's not an hour or two, it's 8 hours. So every officer in my department has to be trained for 8 hours, and they can't do it when they're handling calls. So it is an additional on top of their regular 40-hour work week. But we train at least once a month, usually twice a month. And every year we get additional constraints on us to train more, additional mandates. So the federal government, the state government, they ask us to do more. and more. So we train constantly. And we're very blessed that we have the support of the town board, so we're able to do that. But, you know, these guys here,
I
they
know
work a
they
full-time
train.
job
Yes.
as a volunteer. You know, I get paid. But I'll go home at 9 o'clock at night trying to catch up, and his vehicle is at the firehouse, his vehicle's at the training center, so they're still working too. And so
We're very fortunate to have all of you.
it's something that requires a lot of time.
So Chief, what's your training like? You guys are constantly doing the same, correct?
Well, just like I was saying, lots of times on Monday nights, guys go down, they do training, and sometimes they do it in the firehouse, especially when the bad weather is. And they do everything from, you know, our first part is probably like rig checks, scout pack checks, making sure that our equipment, so it protects ourselves. That's what the first thing. And then the second thing is maybe we'll go down there and they'll, down at the train center, and we'll stretch a couple of hose lines. You know, big thing I like to always say, it's nice to actually stretch a lot of line and flow a lot of water. Try to do that as much, as well as forcible entry, because being able, because three things that I learned when I first became a fireman was, three things that make you a really good fireman is, one, you gotta be able to force the door, because if you can't get into the house, how are you gonna put out the fire? Two, how to stretch a line, because if you can't stretch a line, you're not gonna be able to put out the fire.
Makes sense.
And ventilation was a whole other thing, because if you vent wrong, you burn the house down. You know, so, because if you vent, because lots of times we pull up and people are actually breaking out windows and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, big mistake, because you just introduced air. Think about what people do when you're trying to get your fire started in your fireplace.
blow on it.
You're fanning it.
Yep.
You're doing the same thing. So that's why a smart thing to do, and something that, you know, so everybody knows. All right, have a working smoke detector in your house, and shut the doors. Don't lock them, because that means we have to break them. Close them. Just close them, because believe it or not, you actually keep the fire smothered, and then we could come in and actually maybe the fire won't build up. Because fire is basically the same thing as, it needs air, just like we do. So it's just gonna continue to get larger if it has air. But if we could smother it out, and then when the fire department comes, that's why we're wearing a mask, and that's compressed air that's on our tank. You know, a lot of people say, oh, they got the oxygen tanks. It's compressed air. If we had oxygen tanks, we'd make the fire so much bigger. So, and our guys get trained to, you know, that, to a firefighter 1 level, which is from the state. And then they could go on, which I tell a lot of people go on, take other classes to actually get more training, so they could be even higher level as a fireman.
Okay.
Because, you know, like a career side, a lot of career firemen, they actually have to do a lot more classes in order to actually get out there and go to the career
Right.
side. All right, but here we try to get to firefighter 1, and then we try to build up from there.
Excellent. Gary, what about you? Let's talk about the training.
We do training normally twice a month on a Monday night. Different things, you know, we practice our skills. We do continuing education, normally at least once a month on a Saturday. So we're using a Saturday for that, which is what we are required to recert our certification every 3 years. And, you know, just a lot of guys and gals, when they're on the ambulance, they may take out some equipment and practice while they're waiting to see if a call goes out. In the short time we've been here, we've had 2 calls in the last 10 minutes.
Wow.
So
So do you guys get a lot of policy changes that come down that you have to sort of retrain the men and the women, or?
we get a fair amount. They seem to come in spurts.
Yeah, don't they?
You know, we could
Sort
go
of the
for a couple of
unfunded
years.
mandates, we love them.
Yeah, we could go for a couple of years and have nothing, and then, you know, all of a sudden, we just, you know, we get a book full. And yeah, we do have to retrain. And they've added a lot more on the EMT level now. We can actually administer certain medications. As an EMT,
Oh, okay.
we can now handle allergic reactions, which we were never able to do in the past. Overdoses, certain diabetic calls we can assist with. Asthma is another call that we can assist with that we never could in the past. Cardiac, there's some stuff that we can do as well. So it's added a lot to our training. It's stuff that we have to, you know, constantly go over, know what the protocols are, what we can or can't do. Sometimes we're required to call the hospital and get a hold of a doctor. They have a medical control line to, administer certain medications and make sure that they agree with our diagnosis.
Right. And about how many do you have on your staff?
We roughly have about 60 combination of EMT and drivers right now.
Okay.
Some do both, and we have drivers, got to get to the hospital, got to get to the call. So
Yeah.
you need drivers. So saying that someone's just a driver is not an adequate answer. They keep the whole system greased and rolling. So, it's a joint effort by everybody. And, everybody works seamlessly together, police department and everybody. I mean, it's an awesome community.
Well, that's one of the things that I really wanted to stress, and I think Councilman Marinaro and myself can attest to this, is that when you work together, and the way you guys work together, great things really happen. So we're very, very grateful for that. And we still keep trying to further that relationship, foster that relationship between the town and the different first responders that we have. And Chief, real quick, could you tell us about the police department being an accredited service?
So New York State has certain guidelines and expectations, standards that a police department can choose to participate in. So taking Dutchess County, for instance, I believe there's just 3 of us out of the many agencies that are accredited. And that program is tons of required training, tons of proper policies, certain guidelines that you will fulfill on a regular basis, certain equipment, and it is a long process, and the dedication to it is extensive. The amount of time that my lieutenant puts into it, it's a daily thing almost. So the training that we do, we just talked about a large, long, detailed 8-hour training, but just to qualify to be accredited, you are training 1-hour segments, half-hour segments weekly. So, wow. And if you follow this guideline, if you follow the accreditation process, your department operates at a much higher level, and the end result is the people get a much better police department. But it's a lot of work, a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago, I attended one of your training sessions. I think they had it at John Jay. So when you train, it's not just your department, your men. Usually you guys train with people from other towns, other offices. You have sheriffs also in those trainings. So it's, right now, it's not just the town of East Fishkill. You guys work also with other agencies. So in those training sessions, you have multiple people from different localities attending those.
So we work very closely with the Putnam County Sheriff's Office, the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, the town of Fishkill, the village of Fishkill, the town of Kent. So these are the agencies that are around us. So we try to work hand in hand. So we'll do some training, and one of the nice things about it is not only does it save some money, but when it hits the fan, when we get busy, when there is a crisis, they're all going to be there anyway. So now that we've practiced working together, and as a result, a lot of the bugs, the issues are worked out ahead of time. And so all the police departments around us have been fantastic, top notch. I actually reach out to all the way up to the city of Poughkeepsie. Chief Pate, he's been like a mentor to me. So I didn't expect to take over as chief of police. He's been great. So we have a really good working relationship. And we took that a step further years back, where Gary and Frank and my agency, we worked together, and we did some mass casualty training, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of work to set up. So we did some actual training just with
We did a major drill right here in this building.
Yeah,
Really?
right in this room.
Right here. We spent an entire Saturday here. And there's a lot of preparation for that, a lot of preparation. But you got to work together.
You know, I gotta just make a comment about knowledge and awareness for the community. It's funny, when I first moved in this community, maybe about 20 years ago, I opened a business in a town, and I hired a young man. I didn't know he was a volunteer fire guy. So he's working with me, all of a sudden he takes off. I said, where are you going? I gotta go. This guy's taking off, I got work to do. So I said, when he came back, I said, where'd you go? He says, there was a fire, I had to leave, that's more important. I really didn't know, because I was coming from the city where we have people that they do the job. Over here, like, we want to stress that these guys, they have other chores and they have other things, they take care of families, and sometimes, yes, they're on a job, they have to leave a job because a call comes and it's so important. So it was funny, but, you know, people in the community have to realize that they are very, very dedicated individuals, men and women that they really serve. And at least when we see these guys on the streets, on our stores, please extend your hand and say thank you to these guys. These are really making a big difference. I want to thank you personally for the people in the community myself.
As well as showing some patience too when there's an accident or something like that involved.
I'll add to that one.
We're always in a rush to get to somewhere, right? I'm guilty of it as well. But if there's an accident, if we see you guys out there, you know, we ask the public, and listen, I've been guilty of it in the past as well. But we gotta just take a break. We could be a little late. It's not the end of the world.
Leave a little
and let
earlier.
you guys, right, leave a little earlier and let you guys do your job.
But, well, one thing. Sorry, go ahead. No.
It's all of us that are out there. Those cops are out there, the EMS is out there, fire department's out there. We're all out there. And trust me, I've been, I traveled up and down the parkway for quite a bit, quite a few years, and trust me, how many times I got stuck behind going,
yeah.
oh, well, that's why I kept the magazine in my little car and be like, oh, well, I might as well just read my magazine right now. That's it, so it happens, so I understand the feeling.
Just for the community out there, whether it be a police car, an ambulance, fire truck, whatever, if you see red lights, or a blue light for that matter, pull to the right and let us get by.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, and it's, we might be going to your house.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, now that you mention that, one of the things I should point out is, so one of our right-hand agencies that help us out at the accident scenes are the fire police. So we can only muster up so many officers, so if we have to do a lot of direction with traffic, so the fire police will come out there on their own time, stand out there for hours and direct traffic for us so we can conduct our investigation. So if you folks see them on the side of the road, they're redirecting you, they're putting you on pause, please be patient. They're out there on their own time and they're letting my guys do their job. They have been invaluable since day one here. Growing up in New York City, I've never seen something like a fire police officer. Didn't even know they exist until I came up here. And they protect my police officers. It's like a volunteer fire
Volunteer,
policeman.
that's the key, and dedicated.
Protecting my police officers regularly.
Yeah, that's terrific. Gary, what's the biggest challenge you're probably facing with EMS currently?
Biggest challenge we have, and I mean, every volunteer agency has, is staffing. You know, it's difficult.
And how can people get involved if they choose to?
Anybody that has some time that wants to get involved, I mean, please reach out to us. You can go to our website, you can call our training center, 845-226-1652, and we will certainly be willing to speak with you and discuss what your availability is and see if there's something that can fit in on the fire end or EMS end or whatever it may be.
Right. Frank, what about you? Similar challenges for
Yeah,
recruits
it's
or?
that, and you know what also it's a big thing is, let's face it, the town is growing. And when I first moved up here, the traffic wasn't as bad.
Right.
Now, for our guys to actually, you know, certain stations, not too bad to actually get to the station, but let's say for Station 1, Hopewell Hose, which is the station that I'm originally from, it's a job to get through town, especially at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
It's a job just to get through town. I mean, and that's the reason why maybe it's a little bit delay. That's a big challenge. Don't get me wrong, the manpower is a big thing, but it's tough to get through town. That's about it on that. I always, you know, even school buses, you know, when school buses stop, obviously everybody has to stop. Even fire trucks have to stop for a school bus.
Right.
You know, it's a state law. But sometimes that stuff makes it a little tough for guys to get through town.
Right.
I tell you right now, I have lights and sirens, and I tell you right now, it even takes me, I even say to myself, man, what a difference. And let's face it, our town, what's 56 square miles or 54 square miles? Sorry if I messed up the 2 square mile part. It's
We're
from get
one of the largest towns in the county.
from where, you know, where I live, over by Lake Walton area, to, let's say, over by Miller Hill Road.
Oh, that's a hike.
You know what? That's a long distance. That's a long distance, so.
It is. Chief, I have an idea of what could be an issue, but why don't you go ahead and, if you have any challenges right now that you would like the public to perhaps know, or maybe they can do a little bit differently to help you out.
Staffing is the biggest challenge. Gary hit it on the head. Staffing is the biggest issue right now. So to steal a line from my friend Butch Anderson, welcome to the greatest job on earth, and that's being a police officer. So the Dutchess County Police Officer exam is expected this December. So you may be able to sign up for that as early as next month, I understand. But please, if anyone is interested in being a police officer, check the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources website weekly and participate in the exam. We are looking for bright individuals who like to help people, because that's what we do. It is the greatest job on this planet, and it is a passion. It is a family thing. You go to work happy, you get to do there's a lot of ugly in it, yes, but that's just the way it is. But it's nice to go home. All my guys, my girls, they drive to work with a smile on their, they're happy, they're excited to go to work. It's not, oh, I gotta go to work. They're happy to go to work. It is a very fulfilling job. Unfortunately, people are looking at it a little differently, like, why would I want to do that job? But what you see out there, the perception is wrong. This is a fantastic job. So if you're interested, the exam comes out it's going to be given in December. So sign up for it. You can always say no if you change your mind.
That's excellent. I know my son is looking forward to taking that exam, so hopefully he'll do well. But he can't be one here, sorry.
Yes, sir?
So you guys, one quick thing I'd like to know also, what is it about East Fishkill, Gary, we'll start with you. What is it about East Fishkill that you really enjoy working here or being part of?
I just think we're in a great community. I mean, I think as a whole, people are generally, very nice. Just enjoy being here. Just enjoy the neighborhood.
Frank?
Basically, it's easy to get to almost anything. So
Yeah, that's true.
Let's face it, if we want to go to Route 9, where we basically get almost anything, jump on the Parkway to go down. Don't get me wrong, an hour is a long time, but Route 9 is, maybe 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away. It all depends on the traffic, but it's right there. And we have a lot of stuff going on, too, in the town that keeps you busy. And it's still it's a home, it's a bedroom community. It's, we don't have those high rises or anything like that. And for most part, most everybody's basically still friendly and everything's great.
And the other thing I might add is that, when you go in the center of town or you stop at a gas station, it seems like everybody knows each other by their first name.
Yes.
And, you could know the grandfather, you meet the father, the grandkids, and it's got that homey feeling that it makes you feel welcome to a community where you don't feel strange, and even if you're an outsider, you could become one of the people of the town of East Fishkill very, very briefly, and that to me is a very fulfilling, like Frank and Gary said, it makes you feel like this is home for many people, even if you are not born here.
What about you, Chief? What do you love about East Fishkill?
The support is that at the level of a family. So I pick up the phone, Gary, COVID, and I get the things I need. I need the fire department out here, and I got 100 firemen all around me within minutes. The true story, I was looking for someone for a long time. We had a warrant out on them, and I finally came across them right in the heart of the village here in Hopewell Junction. And I grabbed him real quick before he could jump in his car and drive away. And all of a sudden, there were 6 civilians around me helping me out. So the residents of East Fishkill are like super supportive. The volunteer portion for you guys, is there a larger department in the county,
I believe
I
it's
I don't think so.
right? So,
Volunteer-wise, we're
That's
probably the
terrific, I
largest.
didn't know that.
probably,
That's
probably from here to Albany. It's probably a real good guess.
really,
There's not too many departments around.
We're a
that-
big department for
I
volunteers.
never knew that. That's,
yeah, so the whole community, I mean, you see the way some agencies where they have to work with their local governments, you see some conflict, you see some things that may need to be addressed, and whatever it's been so far, it's always been positive, and we'll work it out. It's never been no. It's always been, let's address it, whether it's with the local government, the town board here, whether it's with the fire department, EMS people, the local businesses, my officers. It's just been like a real family thing. And I didn't have that where I grew up in the Bronx. You know, maybe on the block, you know, but up here, it's the whole entire town. It's really a nice feeling, and everyone's so appreciative.
yes, the community really is pro-police, which I think is wonderful. The entire town board is very grateful for that.
You can actually come to the police department, get a cupcake made by a resident, a slice of lasagna made by a resident. I mean, there's always something being dropped off at the station, the
they're
appreciation,
very-
the cards from the
they're very
kids in the
grateful.
schools, which is fantastic.
Look, I like to say, you know, the town motto is East Fishkill, a great place to live, and I argue it's a great place to live because we have great people who live here. So, and great people like you guys and what you do, the volunteers, all the professionals. So we are very, very grateful, and we hope that that this sort of educates a little bit of the public for those who don't know their fire chief or their head of their EMS or the police chief. You know, when you see them, like Councilman Marinaro said, extend a hand, say hello. Even to us too. We're out and about. We're in the supermarkets. We're at the gas stations, on the soccer fields, wherever. You know, and we always urge, please, if you have any questions, call us. You can call Gary. You can call Frank. Call the chief. We're very, very accessible. Councilman?
I want to thank everybody that attended this nice session. We have done this to inform our community what we have available to serve our citizens of this great town. So thank you, gentlemen, for making this easy for us to put out this great information, and have a wonderful weekend.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.